Remember, you're the one who can fill the world with sunshine. Snow White. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first ever colored animated feature film Walt Disney released in 1937. In a time where only black and white films existed, yet he managed to bring color into the lives of many. But what if Walt Disney never made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? What if instead of pursuing his passion for cartoons, an impossible feat back then, he chose to do nothing? Can you imagine a world without Walt Disney's influence? A world in which his beloved characters and songs never molded your dreams, where the magic and visual storytelling never fired your imagination, and no theme parks ever fulfilled your childhood desires. How would this affected the you today? The story of Walt Disney is certainly not one of luck or fortune. After years of abuse, rejection, and failures, it was only until then that success began to follow him. But before that, it all started with a hard-working paperboy to a humble, renowned film producer who left history while sitting on a park bench daydreaming. Welcome to Untapping Your Potential, where we will share with you motivational stories that will keep you growing and inspire you to take action. The year was 1901, Chicago. Walt was born and raised on a small farm. He was the fourth son among 5 siblings, many of which ran away from the household because of Walt's father, Elias. Elias was a farmer and a businessman. But because of several failed business ventures, Elias became very cold and aggressive towards the family. Walt was usually the victim of Elias's abuse because he was the youngest son. He would often be beat up for the smallest and most trivial things. But he never let it get to him. At the age of 9, Walt was already working 7 days a week as a newspaper delivery boy. Walt, unlike most kids his age, would get up 4 a.m. every day to deliver the day's paper before going to school, and then return back to work before the end of the day. It was an exhausting routine for Walt, but he knew it had to be done. To keep himself entertained and to keep his mind off the abuse at home, Walt would turn towards the arts and draw. It was during this time that he began to find his passion for cartoons. And also, as a small side hustle, he would paint for neighbors, family, and friends. But at the age of 14, Walt and his family had to move to Kansas City in search of a better life. Being in a metropolitan city, he began to love trains almost as much as drawing, and began to work at a railroad selling snacks and candy to passengers. From such an early age, Walt became no stranger to hard work, although the results weren't always in his favor. Walt Disney frequently fell asleep in class, resulting to having bad grades. But in order to support his family, he continued to work for more than 6 years, all while still drawing. However, Elias was not pleased with the son's impractical hobby. He would often tell Walt, "You can't make a living as an artist. Be practical." Walt never listened to his words. By the time Walt was 16, he enlisted into the Red Cross Ambulance Corps. He was immediately deployed to France as an ambulance driver for a year, barely getting out alive as he had contracted severe influenza. Being free from work and on bed rest for so long, Walt had lots of time to think about his future. "I doubt I would have gone back to school. I don't think I've become something fancy like a lawyer or a doctor or even attend college. No one in my family had ever been able to afford that luxury. But I was passionate about drawing. It was my solace during difficult times." Once he was able to recuperate, Walt came back to Kansas City and tried to pursue a career as a cartoonist. Walt had managed to land a job at an art studio, but soon after was fired. Now let me ask you, why do you think he was fired? Imagine hearing the manager at the time saying this to Walt Disney: "You lack imagination and have no good ideas." Unbelievable, right? Prior to this, Walt met a man named Ub Iwerks at the studio. Ub, like Walt, was a high school dropout who bounced from odd jobs to odd jobs. The two artists became friends after discovering their talents, and they greatly complemented one another. When Walt was fired, he and Iwerks decided to establish their very own commercial company, but they were unable to attract customers. The business failed almost immediately and didn't even last 2 months. But Walt did not want to give up his passion. Roy, Walt's elder brother, in support of the young man, launched the company Laugh-O-Gram to help him focus on creating cartoons. In order to set Laugh-O-Gram apart from other studios at the time, Walt came up with a brand new project idea, a series of animated animations based on classic fairy tales. And their cartoons did indeed become a hit. Their short films became a sensation around the nation, but not enough to provide income. Thus, Laugh-O-Gram went bankrupt, and the brothers had to halt their production. Walt found himself homeless and shoeless. His only remaining pair of shoes were at a cobbler, and he couldn't afford the little fee to pick them up. With no home, no shoes, no job, for the very first time, Walt questioned his career as a cartoonist. Maybe Dad was right. There's no use in making this living with passion. And in hopelessness, Walt decided to leave it all behind. With only $40 in his pocket, he headed to Hollywood to try to pursue a career as a movie director instead. But his luck was no different in Hollywood. Every single studio he applied to as a director turned him down. Even for the small acting gigs, it was no use. When Walt asked the studio for a job, any position, they refused. There were no openings, he was told. Walt eventually ran out of funds and had to borrow from Roy. Roy urged that he resume producing cartoons. He wasn't convinced at first. He had already lost it all once, and why should he try again? But Roy managed to persuade Walt, and they started working again. Soon, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was born, and Walt scored his first major success. Unfortunately, such success didn't last for long. He lost the legal rights to his well-known character, and once again, losing it all. But instead of wallowing in self-pity, Disney decided to start afresh. Years later, Walt and Ub collaborated once again, and guess what happened? Mickey Mouse was born. And this time, the cartoon had a long-lasting success, even until today. Years later, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was finally released. It made history as the world's first animated feature film with an 83-minute running time. It was a critical and economic success, become the highest grossing film of its time, generating more than $8 million its first year, the equivalent of more than $100 million today. Disney gambled with his money for almost his whole life. Everyone warned him that his projects were never going to get recognition, that he could lose his invested capital. But he believed in his craft, and he succeeded. Walt Disney did not stop there. He began planning a large theme park. He began preparing the happiest place on earth. And believe it or not, the project of the theme park, Disneyland, was rejected over 300 times. Yet, his ingenuity, energy, and tremendous mindset will be remembered forever. He demonstrated that having huge aspirations isn't always enough unless you're tenacious and work hard to make them into a reality. If you can dream it, you can do it. Somehow, I can't believe there are any heights that can't be scaled by a man who knows the secret of making dreams come true. This special secret, it seems to me, can be summarized in 4 C's. They are curiosity, confidence, courage, and constancy. And the greatest of these is confidence. When you believe a thing, believe it all the way, implicitly and unquestionably. Walt Disney. You know what most people would have done if they were Walt Disney? That's right. They would have quit. Maybe during the time of his father's abuse, or maybe when his company went bankrupt for the first time. But not Walt. He instead continued to do what he loved and kept going, Let's face it, you've been turned down or dragged down at least once in your life before. That's how life is. Now you may use rejection as a push to move forward or as a pull to move backwards. Many lessons can be drawn from Walt Disney's life. First and foremost, it makes no difference where you begin. The goal is to get going. Be curious. Keep asking yourself about what you want to do, where you want to be, and how you will achieve them. Second, you cannot allow adversity to bring you down. And when you do this, you will be confident. You will have courage. And you'll be able to lift yourself and walk forward without looking back. You'll be consistent. So keep going, no matter where you are in life, because the only thing that can stop you is yourself. Like I said earlier, what would the world be without Snow White, Pinocchio, Aladdin, Mary Poppins, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King? Without theme parks and without the magical kingdom of Disney World. I'm glad he didn't give up, and I hope you don't give up either. As Walt Disney once said, if you can dream it, you can do it. Thanks for watching this video. How would you like to hear more motivational stories on a consistent basis? Do me a favor and support the channel by sharing, commenting below, and please make sure to like and hit that subscribe button to get the latest update. Soon, you will be on your way to feeling inspired.